I will call the meeting to order. Could we all rise for the flag salute? And if we could all remain standing for a moment of silence for all of our servicemen and women overseas and abroad, and all those in harm's way, and all those we have lost before us. Thank you. And the statement of advance notice. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act of the State of New Jersey have been satisfied by the inclusion of the date, time, and place of this meeting in the notice of regular meetings adopted by this board on January 8th, 2024. Such schedule and notice of meetings is posted at the municipal building, the Mount Olive Library, the Board of Education offices, and the 6 schools. It was submitted to the Daily Record for publication on January 9th, 2024. It was filed with the clerk of Mount Olive Township on January 9th, 2024. I direct that this announcement be entered into the minutes of this meeting. And we'll take a roll call, please, Ms. Schoening.
Mrs. Aquino?
Here.
Mrs. Fenton?
Here.
Mrs. Figuera?
Here.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Here.
Mrs. Melendez?
Here.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Here.
Mrs. O'Neill?
Here.
Mr. Orzillo?
Here.
Mr. Strelacci?
Here.
Excuse me.
And we're going to have a couple adjustments on the agenda. While it says going into confidential session, we actually have no confidential session for the beginning of this meeting. So we will keep moving along. Can I have a motion to move the approval of the minutes, 3.1 and 3.2?
So moved. Second.
And
Do we need a second?
it's all good. And we'll take any questions or comments from the board on the approval of the minutes? No? And we'll take a roll call on that, Ms. Schoening.
Mrs. Aquino?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton?
Yes.
Mrs. Figuera?
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez?
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Yes.
Mrs.
I abstain. I'm sorry, I was not here.
Mrs. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Orzillo?
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Can you guys hear us okay? Because I can't. All right. Everybody can hear
As long as
okay?
yeah.
Because we can't hear ourselves tonight.
Oh, well, they're more important.
I know.
And does the board have any communications or petitions? The superintendent?
No.
Okay. We're actually going to move along to reports and discussions, and we're going to actually move,
We're going to do
students liaisons? Okay. We're going to do the student liaisons first. Thank you, ladies.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nora Rizk, and I am the BOE liaison.
And my name is Victoria Marr. I am the Student Council Secretary. Monday, December 2nd, Air Force Junior ROTC scored the exceeding for the first time in its program's history. Over 100 cadets pushed us over the edge, glowing. Thursday, December 5th, Rho Kappa had an induction. Around 30 students got inducted. Friday, December 6th, Mount Olive hosted a debate tournament. Snowlands and had a Snowland setup. It was the most amount of people that attended.
Hi, everybody. On Saturday the 7th, we had Snowland. We had so many kids this year. We had the most amount of people we've ever seen stay towards the end. On Monday, December 9th, we started our penny wars between all the grades to raise money for our food pantry. We did have the seniors win the most amount of money. They donated the most. Go seniors. On Wednesday, the 11th, our team meeting, our team club, which raises funds for Ukraine, had their spike ball tournament to raise donations. And then that night, we had our winter holiday band and choral concert. On this most recent Friday, December 13th, we had our pep rally. It was really fun. We had all these games. The teachers competed with each other. They were in giant bubbles bouncing around, playing soccer. It was great. On the 14th and the 15th, we hosted the Lego League Competition State Championship, which was great. We had over 80 Lego teams. Today, right after school, we had our Deck the Hall, so each grade was assigned a hall and a theme. The seniors had the Arctic theme, the juniors had the gingerbread theme, the sophomores had the candy cane theme, and the freshmen had the winter woodland theme. It looks great. We spent hours doing it. On Wednesday, the 18th, we're going to have our winter orchestra concert. On Thursday, the 19th, our Foods Club will be decorating cookies with the elderly at Paragon Village. And then coming up in January, as soon as we get back from break, January 2nd, we have our spring musical auditions will begin. They're doing Grease. Everyone come out and see it. Our drama club's great. And then on January 7th, we're going to have an alumni panel come speak to the underclassmen about college and all those types of questions. And then we have an exciting event coming up, January 31st. We're calling it Marauder Royale. It's like Mr. and Mrs. Mount Olive, if you guys were here in the past and you knew about that. It's the seniors are competing. It is a talent and interview and formal wear contest, and we will have a panel of judges from across all the grades with teachers and administrators. And our special alumni guest is going to be Sergeant Mike Russell, and he was a previous Mr. Mount Olive. He was a previous Mr. Mount Olive winner from the past. So we're all really looking forward to that, and you'll get your contestants revealed in January. That's all from us. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Do we have any questions from the board, from the ladies? No? Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, just one more note. We have our news we got about our AP registrations. We have over 400 students registered for 912 AP exams.
Oh my
That's the final note. Don't worry. Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we're gonna move our order of events a little bit,
So I'm going to break up the superintendent's report just in a couple different ways. At this moment, I would like to invite Mr. Kevin Stansberry up. We have a student that we'd like to honor from the high school who received a great award from Kane University. So at this moment, if I can invite Mr. Stansberry up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce the recipient of this award. It's a prestigious Joy Prescott Humanitarian Award for student leadership and dedication from Kane University. This award recognizes student leaders who exemplify diversity, inclusivity, and social justice through leadership, community involvement, and activism, qualities that this student embodies fully. As president and co-founder of the DEI Student Council, she has been instrumental in fostering a diverse and inclusive school culture. She also leads the policy and curriculum committees, driving meaningful change. Beyond DEI, she serves as the general student counsel, contributes to the Leo's Club and Save Club, and supports her peers as a peer tutor. Her commitment to leadership and service has made a significant impact within our school and our community, and we are very proud to celebrate this remarkable achievement. How about a big round of applause for junior Rochelle John? Dr. Banji and Lisa? Come on over. Anybody taking that picture? I'll get it. You got it?
Got it?
There you go.
Okay.
We're in the middle, because give her a like, two short ladies. You're good.
Congratulations.
And at this point, we're going to deviate from our schedule. I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Narcisse for a special presentation.
Okay, do you want to bring them up first? Yes. Miss McQueenie, do you have our friends? And Mr. Sterlacci.
You kidding?
Yeah, I know, he's looking. He's got his eye on someone. So one of the pieces for this evening we want to share with everyone is one of our longtime board members, Mr. Anthony Strelacci. This will be your last board meeting? Sitting on this side of the table. You're going to come visit, right? You're going to come visit. And we wanted to just share, one, our deepest appreciation for you, Mr. Strelacci. And I know one of your biggest champions in our district has been our music program. We know that you've been really one of our leaders in bringing much, attention and strengthening the services and studies for our students. So we wanted to share a little bit of what you've worked really, really hard on this side of the table for.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Layla Blakey. I'm the president of the Triumph Music Honor Society at the high school. And today we would like to honor Mr. Strelacci for his 30-plus years of service to the Mount Olive community. So we have a special presentation from the Triumph Music Honor Society.
Wish me luck the same to you, but I can't regret what I did for love, what I did for love. My eyes are dry. The gift was ours to borrow. Today goodbye and point me towards tomorrow. Point me towards tomorrow. We did what we had to do. Won't forget, can't regret what I did for love.
Okay, let me take my napkin first.
You're all right, just as long as you can't see the camera, you're fine.
Thank you, guys, it was great.
So good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I know, like,
So good.
oh, we're just gonna take. All right. Can I have some of the Bosch family up with us, please? They're like looking at me.
I feel like that's you.
And the Strelachis. Jody. Oh, okay. All right. Chris, we come on this side. Do we have anyone else we're missing? Okay. Well, one photo op first.
Otherwise, you're like hovering over Mr. Bosch's shoulder awkwardly.
Yeah. It is a board meeting, but we're celebrating our board member. Okay, I guess you can go sit down if you like, but not you, Mr. Strelacci. So we wanted to show you a little bit of our appreciation. So Mr. Strelacci, first of all, Tony, you were honored, I believe, as best dressed at high school, where you started in Booton. Okay. We're not going with the year, you know, but one of the things when I first got onto the board, Mr. Strelacci and Tony, you were very welcoming to, and we, you know, started a very close bond over the fact that we're both, well, from Booton, the Booton connection there.
I know her dad.
Yep, my father-in-law and his brother went to school with you, and you might have hung out at the Narcissus Tavern. Okay, so we wanted, beyond just where your roots started, you've been on our board for over 30 years, which means not just sitting on a board. You've dedicated so much of your time, your family's time, to this district where it started when you first came, a K-8 district with under 700 students, and you've helped make it grow to over 4,600 students, and we have pre-K through 12. You've watched this district change, evolve. You've got to, you know, you helped us build a makerspace. You helped us, you know, with a vision of our PAC and our music and our arts department. You were a champion for full-day kindergarten. All of us full-time working parents were very appreciative. And you did your very best and unconditional, heartfelt work to make everything so amazing for the staff, the students of this community. There are alumni sitting in this audience who have a lot to thank you for. And I thank you for your guidance and leadership that you've led for us. And what I also will always remember, though, is I have a soft spot for the arts program. My son is pursuing an arts-related, you know, major for life because of the work that you've helped us achieve. So you helped all of those students find their voice. You gave them those tools. You empowered this district. You helped us bring in makerspace, engineering, robotics. You watched our curriculum grow. You helped with grow the AP program. You just saw how many students are taking those tests. You helped with the fact that every student that's taken those tests, the first one is covered by the district. You helped that initiative. And I really, really want to say thank you. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for everything here. You watched us move into this building from the Bud Lake School, right? You've helped grow that high school, build that middle school. Okay, there's been a lot on your resume that you've worked on. So I want to say thank you from every child who's gone through these doors and graduated to every diploma you've gotten to hand out, every speech you gave. You're so much better than me. Oh, so this is one of them. Okay, and we have few things, because I think with your spare time, you definitely need to go out to eat.
Was it closed?
No, it was open.
Dare try.
It was open. I'm sorry I didn't get down to the reservoir to get you, but just tell the Vacas the Narcissus sent you.
Okay.
There's something in there to keep you warm as you watch hopefully have some spare time to watch some movies with your wife. And I'm going to turn the mic over to you.
You're embarrassing me. First, I would like to thank the people of Mount Olive who allowed me the privilege to serve on this board for a very long time. It's been a long time. It's been 30 years and 8 months, and it transcends 4 decades. I was first put on the board to fill a position in August of 1991, was vacated, and that had 8 months more term on it. And then I ran after that and got elected 6 times. In those days, the election was held in April. It wasn't held at the regular time. I retired from the board in 2010, and I was off the board for 2 years. And then in 2013, only 2 people applied to be on the board. And so somebody had to be written in. And there were some people running, I guess, that a lot of people didn't care for. So somebody called me on the phone, and to this day, I do not remember who it was. They said, would you consider running on the board again? And I said, yeah, okay. All of a sudden, I see my name popping up on social media all the time, and I didn't even pay any attention to it until the next day when I was at my store. Lisa Lashway called me, who was the town clerk at that time, and said, you've been elected to be back on the board. And it was, I tell you, a really happy time for me. You know, a lot of people, and I'm sure all board members have heard this, they say, why do you want to be on the board? It's such a thankless position. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, you sometimes do things that don't work out right, or you know, you just want to do this and you can't do it or whatever, but it is so rewarding on many, many levels. First of all, you're giving back to the community. Second, you are trying to make this a tremendous school district. And third of all, you are associating yourself with a profession that I think is the noblest profession of all, and that's education. Education takes young minds, they nurture them, they give them education, knowledge, they give them direction, and they help them become prepared to come out into society and be successful. Yes, industry can give you skills, but education molds character. And that's why I was so happy to come back on the board and do that. My wife and I, when we came to Mount Olive, we were, as Ms. Narcisse was saying before, we were a K-8 district, and we had the Flanders School and the Bud Lake School. And we had just built the upper L. And I think we had about 1,500 students. And we have evolved into a pre-K to 12 with over 4,700 students. And along with former and present board members and administrations, and a tremendous award-winning staff and a magnanimous community, we have built one of the best education systems in the state. We are recognized highly in the state. We are recognized nationally. Before I leave, because I just enjoyed being on the board so much, it's just enriched my life. It really has. But before I give a couple of messages to the board, I just want to request one thing. In 2003, we worked very hard to pass a referendum to put the addition onto the high school. And a plaque was made with our names on it, and it was hung in the commons in the high school. Well, now that plaque is enclosed into a coffee bar, and it's behind the coffee urn and some racks. I would love you to take it out of there and put it out for prominence so people could see. Because I really love this board so much, I would like to give my fellow board members a message, a couple of messages. I already iterated that one time Mrs. Melendez, when I interviewed to come back on the board, asked me what the biggest challenge was, and I said classroom space. And I still say that today. But I was also asked another question by Mrs. Fenton, and that was, how can the board improve its relationship with the community? And I gave you a very abbreviated answer. I'd like to expand on that answer at this time. Mount Olive, like all districts, is a very diverse community. And because we are diverse, we have different philosophies, we ideate differently, we have different expectations. Whenever you're going to make a decision, there's always going to be a level of rejection because of that. And in order to keep that level of intensity of rejection down, you need to, as I said once before, you need to listen to your community, you need to be open with your community, and you need to be honest with your community. And if you can affect that type of culture, you will find that you will minimize rejection and you will maximize support and you will gain more trust from your community. The last thing I would like to tell you is, you are in a position, a very powerful position, whether you realize it or not. You affect not only the students and the staff, but also the community. And the decisions you are going to make, sometimes they're mundane, sometimes they're difficult, and sometimes you are going to anguish over the decisions you make. And I have stated over the years, there are 3 principles that I've tried to follow. I hope my record shows that I've been able to cover that more than not. But the 3 principles simply are the education and welfare of students, the prudent expenditure of taxpayers' dollars, and the safe and equitable employment of staff. If you can continue to think of those principles when you make your decisions, you will not only make the right decisions, you will have peace of mind. So to everyone, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. This has been a labor of love for me. I really enjoy it. And I just don't know what else to tell you, but thank you, thank you, thank you.
We do have cake for you, Mr. Strelacci, and anyone else who would like some, celebrating you.
A cake? Haven't we done enough already?
Never enough. You know the answer to that. It's like your wedding, you're getting the cake.
Right? Some nice soups. Over here.
We're actually, so while we're cutting cake, if anyone actually would like to come to the mic, we're going to allow for any public comments with relation to Mr. Strelacci. So if you would like to say a few words for him, please come up to the mic, state your name, and let Mr. Strelacci know that you will miss him, we care, and we will see him definitely and seek out a lot of advice.
Still busy with the store, you know. Come and visit once in a while.
I know, I took the mic off instead of lowering it. You would have left the same height.
You should have known. I thought I had more time to get nervous.
Oh,
Tony. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, members of Moesa, and the greater community of Mount Olive. My name is Gita Vogel. I live at 48 June Grass Way, Panther Valley, Alamucci, New Jersey. Dear Mr. Strelacci, for the past 5 years, you have embraced me as a member of your community in my function as certified field rep from NJPSA on behalf of Moesa. In that period of time, I have come to know the professional educator side of Mr. Strelacci. Yet I have known him for many years as a businessman, but also someone who is committed to kids, whether fitting them for prom clothes or simply talking to them and making them feel so welcome in your midst. At the same time, you have assured the community you have so valiantly served as a paragon of knowledge and commitment that caring for children is really your only occupation. There are few words that I could offer here that haven't already been said about your integrity. Characteristically to continue, you are a great listener. You sort through facts quickly and thoroughly, and in that process, yield opinions that always distinguish right from wrong, not what's popular versus unpopular. Your distinguished service is a model of commitment despite much personal angst and anguish caused by making a decision that's right based on sound moral judgment and facts because it's about kids. Kids have always come first, and they will continue to come first in your more passive role as a community member. Before I close, I need to iterate a special thank you to you for your ongoing support of the members of Moesa and the standards it exemplifies as an organization. I am honored to know you. I am enriched by your loyalty, bar none. And I am a better person knowing that I can call you a friend. I wish you peace in your new leisure life. That's supposed to be funny. I also wish you many Board of Education meetings in your future as a community member bound and determined to continue to make a difference. You are a prince, Mr. Strelacci. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
we need to move the mic up for you.
And I'm not going to forget this time, Antoine Gales, 13 Tall Oaks Lane, Bud Lake, New Jersey. Tony, it's been a long time. And when I think of the time that I've served with you and what I heard about your legacy before I came to the board, the first thing that pops into my mind is elder statesman with a wealth of knowledge and passion and compassion for Mount Olive, and with the occasional joke or two that sometimes made us laugh. But you were very serious about the business of Mount Olive, and that permeated through everyone that you worked with, including me. It was infectious, and I learned from you when I joined the board. I took your example of focus on what was in the best interest of students, what was prudent for taxpayers, and whether or not it would benefit staff and students. And that's a legacy that will continue to grow thanks to your dedication on the board. I appreciate the manner in which you approached every board meeting. Very well prepared, very well dressed, and ready to take on the business of making sure that Mount Olive was the best that it could be. I appreciate all the times that we've had the opportunity to talk and me get good advice. Whether we agreed or disagreed, you always had a valiant point. And I appreciated how you championed the causes that were important, not only to you, but to Mount Olive. For example, full-day kindergarten. Whether or not we had enough class size, class space, to provide quality instruction. Those are your stalwarts. And because of you and the work of so many other board members, there are so many milestones and attributes that Mount Olive has achieved. So now that you are about to turn the page onto your next chapter, and you'll be able to stand on this side of the aisle, and you'll see how different it feels, I hope that you can leave the board knowing that you've done a job well done, filled with ups and downs, but overall triumphs for Mount Olive, for legacies of students, troves of staff members and administrators. And I know that that legacy will continue to build even long after you have left the board. There will still be a seat and a nameplate in honor of Anthony Strelacci. So thank you very much.
I'm sorry to keep the meeting so long.
Billy's last one, you could do it for.
Exactly.
This is the good stuff.
Kevin Stansberry, President Moassa, Principal Mount Olive High School, 18 Corey Road. I give you that because I feel like I live there. But on behalf of the administrative team, all the teachers, all the students, we want to thank you for always doing the proper thing rather than a popular thing, and always striving for excellence and not mediocrity. And for that, we'll be eternally grateful for you, Tony, and all the work that you've done for this community and for our learning community. So thank you once again to all your service. And I guess that means now that he's not on the board, we can go shopping at Frantoni's now. All right, we good? All right, thank you, Tony. Thanks for everything.
How am I gonna sleep tonight?
I know.
My head's gonna be too big for the pillow.
Chris Zaire, 29 Saunders Lane, Hackettstown, New Jersey.
Chris Zaire.
Zaire, right, for you tonight, Zaire. Absolutely. I wanted to thank you, Tony, as we honor you tonight for your impact on the Mount Olive School District, which spans over 3 decades. To say your service has been instrumental would be an understatement. Your leadership and vision has helped transform the district into a thriving, dynamic community it is today. While there are far too many accomplishments to list, one stands out above the rest, and that was your unwavering dedication to the champion of the arts program. Because your efforts that once was a budding initiative has become a true gem, polished, shining, and celebrated. The arts in Mount Olive are a legacy and will endure touching the lives of countless students for generations. So thank you so much for that. I love the place. On a personal note, I want to express my deepest gratitude for you as well. You did not only make me a better board member, but you made me a better man. You taught me patience. Things that we endured over the past few challenges over these last couple of weeks has been difficult. And you were the one that kind of kept me at peace, kept me off the edge so many times. And I remember you when I was in first grade, and you were that nice man that looked after me then, and I remember you as the nice man that looked after me here as well.
Am I that old?
You are that old, and I do appreciate your style. You are the only person I know that wears a cardigan vest while leaf blowing in front of his house. So, thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
Karen Fumera, 133 Flanders Drakestown Road. I have to just jump in as somebody who hasn't worked with you, but has had the pleasure of watching you work. I came in to the board meetings kind of thinking like, you know, we need fresh new eyes and new people, and you completely changed my mentality on that. Your insights, your simple words that carry value beyond their meaning. You have always been a calm voice of reason. You've always spoken to the entire community. You've always voiced your opinion, but you've always spoken to the community and obviously want what's best for everyone, but you also listen. And as a parent who only shows up here when it feels like you're not being heard, you listened and you heard, and you are so incredibly appreciated, and you will be so missed. But I do hope that you have so much fun enjoying all of your time with your family. You've earned it. But thank you. Sincerely, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so if we don't have anyone else for comments on Mr. Strelacci, we will have the floor open again at the end of the meeting for your general public comment. We're going to close out those comment section out, and Dr. Bangio, do we have another presentation?
Certainly, but at this moment, I just want to say a couple words for Mr. Strelacci. You know, I feel I have a unique perspective because certainly not only do I sit here as a superintendent, but I also sit here as a graduate of this wonderful school district, and I can't thank you enough for your service. So this is thank you not only from the superintendent, from the student. Thank you for always putting what's right ahead. Oh, and sometimes it is a difficult decision, but because of your leadership, we are one of the best school districts in the state, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
And at this moment, I would like to invite Ms. Jackie Bello, who's going to be presenting some information with respect to SSDS and HIB information. I hate that transition, but
It has to happen eventually.
that was a rough one.
Subject to go into, but it's gonna be great. Thank you.
You don't like that transition. I really don't like the transition. This is a tough. Last year, I followed the Teacher of the Year presentations. That was such a happy thing. And I do need to downshift and ask everyone to downshift with me for a serious topic, but nonetheless, work that I'm still proud of, and I think we can be proud of as a district. So the topic I'm presenting tonight is the Student Safety Data System, known as SSDS, and then also the Harassment, Intimidation, and Bullying Report, because that goes together on the same report, even though it's categorized slightly differently. And it's for the period from January through June, so last spring. So what is this report? This is what the New Jersey Department of Ed requires all school districts to report. It's the portal that we use. And the SSDS is classified, we used to call it the EVVRS for people who've been in administration or the board for a long time, and it's violence, vandalism, weapons, and substance abuse. See, downshift from the happy cake serving that just happened, okay. And then we also have our report on the harassment, intimidation, and bullying. So not only the number of investigations that we completed and the number of HIB, I'm going to refer to it as HIB. Everybody just references it as HIB. So not only the investigations we completed and how many were founded versus unfounded, but also the trainings and the programs and the great preventative work that we do here to really educate everybody and to prevent as much as we possibly can. So there is some positive in this report. So the first piece will be the violence, vandalism, weapons, and substance abuse. And we have the definitions down at the bottom, and then the chart at the top is the numbers broken down by each school. So I'm going to explain and talk about this slide a little bit. So the incident total column all the way to the left is a little bit confusing. So if you're doing the mental math trying to add everything up, it does not add up. So I'll explain what that is. The incident total is the number in the violence column plus the vandalism column plus the substances column and weapons column, but it also is going to include the founded HIBs. Every time there's a founded HIB, that counts as an incident. So it's a little higher than the added columns that are on the screen, but I'll get to the HIB next. And then we also have all the way to the right other incidents leading to removal. That could be anything, any reason a student was suspended or removed from their learning environment, expelled, zero tolerance, search for, placed on home instruction temporarily while we searched for an appropriate program. So that's the other incidents leading to removal that were disciplinary in nature. So some numbers that stand out, we have a lot of zeros, which is a really nice thing. And then some numbers stand out. Of course, the middle school and the high school overall have higher numbers, and I'll get to that in another slide too, but naturally as students get older, the behaviors sometimes become more serious. That's not a Mount Olive thing. I think that's a all around the world thing. But the numbers that stood out to me were the violence incidents in the middle school, because that was an increase from previous years. Previous years are between like 5, 8. But the violence did go up. So I did speak to Mrs. Wilkie about it. We met with the assistant principals, and what we're thinking happened, because it was over time, it was over a 6-month period. We're very proud to not hide anything and to be very forthcoming, and I think that we were a little bit overzealous in reporting violence. So if you look at the definition, it's anything that's assault, a fight, kidnapping, robbery, extortion, sexual contact, sexual assault, so serious things, threats, simple threats and criminal threats. But I do think that we got a little bit overzealous in the middle school, and we weren't really looking at the definition that the SSDS guidance gives us. So a shoving match should really not be considered a fight. So we did meet and talk about that. So already I know for the September through December period, that's already down, just because I think we realized that back in the spring as we were doing it. But even threats can be transient. You know, it's a figure of speech, I'm gonna kill you. But it can be a serious threat too. I'm going to kill you. So statements like that, we needed to come together and standardize that process. A transient threat isn't something that's getting reported into SSDS if it's a laughing kind of I'm going to kill you figure of speech versus someone really being angry and threatening the other person. So we did have some meetings about that. The other numbers that stuck out were the substances at the high school. This number has been about the same for the past couple of years, and it did seem to coincide with the vape detectors being put into the bathroom. It's not necessarily substances being used at school. It can be, but it's also in possession of any kind of drug paraphernalia or in possession of any controlled substance or materials like a vape. We don't know what's in the vape. It could just be flavored, but we don't know. So it counts as substance because you're not allowed to have that in school. So it's not unusual that those numbers went up. I will give like a little bit of a sneak preview because I already looked a little bit at the numbers for the September through December, and they look like they're trending down. And we could guess that maybe it's because there are vape detectors and so we're catching students and so it's a deterrent, but we're not really sure. We're going to analyze that for the next period. And then the next part is the HIB. So we will give the numbers here. So we can see that we have a column of HIB confirmed at each school and HIB alleged at each school. So alleged means it wasn't founded to meet the definition of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Doesn't mean it wasn't an egregious act or wasn't something negative that occurred or some type of conflict, but it just didn't meet the definition of HIB after we investigated. You can see we did a large number of HIB investigations last year. Again, this was just January through June, so this wasn't the full school year. And I like to put this chart up so members of the board, you might recognize it from previous presentations, but I was asked by Mr. Strelacci last year if there was data about middle schoolers elsewhere having high numbers. And so it must have been just a couple weeks after he asked me that the Department of Education released this, the Anti-Bullying Task Force released this data that they have going back a few years. So in the gray bars, that's middle school students and their HIB incidents by school type. So at the top is high school, at the bottom is elementary school, and this is across the state. So this is the data that they released recently, and so, middle school just has a lot of behaviors, and we did do a lot of, we did a presentation this year too, showing how, middle schoolers struggle lately because that's when they're exposed for the most part to social media, to having their own phones. And there's that disconnect between their development and what they're ready to handle and what they're exposed to on the phone. So not unusual. And elementary is on the climb, as we can see. We're seeing more behaviors like this in elementary school. So here's what we're doing for HIB prevention. And this is a difficult thing to present because every elementary school has its own pulse, has its own character, has its own students who have a voice and express what programs they want to have and what they want to do. And then we also have our counselors and our administrators and our staff who really are making suggestions about what preventative programs might work well, what they've heard from other places. So this is a list that's not comprehensive. There's plenty that I didn't include because in elementary school, we just weave this into the fabric of their everyday. This is social emotional learning. These are programs, some of them have been around, since I was a kid. We had safety patrol. We had things like student of the month that we call different names. But there's always now character ed discussions, different traits of the month. The counselors are going into the classrooms. They're doing different lunch bunch types of groups where it's small group instruction to help students who might struggle with impulsivity or socialization, whatever the case may be. But they tend to call these little small group counseling sessions different things depending on what the kids want to call it. They might call it lunch bunch in one place. They might call it caught being good somewhere else. So that kind of evolves. But you will see this at every, something like this at every school. Some of the things that every school does is kindness ambassadors in 5th grade, which is really nice. That's like their big push to get the 5th graders to be leaders, to set a good example for the younger students. That's one of my favorites. And then examples of HIB prevention programs at the secondary level. In the high school, a lot of it is driven by clubs to see what the kids are interested in. And spreading awareness. I know Mr. Stansberry and I both agree that we love this thing called Project Wisdom, where he reads announcements every morning and kind of gives an inspirational lesson from a historical figure, and it's tied to character traits. So that's something that happens at the high school. All types of, we saw the DEI president up here earlier, so that's a strong group as well. They do social media awareness presentations. Some of the high school kids go to the elementary schools and do presentations for them. And then just different awareness groups, autism awareness, Best Buddies Walk, Leo's Club, a community service environment. At the middle school, they do team days. They love these team days, the red, yellow, and white, and that's really community building and working together. So we have all of those. And then this is the district-wide HIB prevention that we're working on so far this school year. And we've done a lot of these already. So No Place for Hate is happening in all of the K through 8 schools. And that's all about inclusivity and diversity and making sure that we're using language that's appropriate with each other. That's an offshoot from the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League. So that's up and running. The students are excited. We have student committees on that. And then we have at the high school, we're starting up something called Positive Behavior School-Wide Intervention Supports, PBSIS. And that's from the Rutgers Boggs Center. We were very fortunate to have them. That's a free service, but you have to apply. It's a very lengthy application. You have to apply a year in advance, and Mr. Stansberry and his team, Dr. Boyd and some of the other administrators and teachers are getting that off the ground. That's a full year of planning with staff prior to rolling it out to the students. So we're in the very first year. And then I did a training with new staff, kickoff HIB policy and procedure. Welcome to Mount Olive. Here's your class roster. Let's talk about HIB. And then we also did, in October, I did a HIB prevention presentation for the Ed Camp PD Day, which I had a great time because it's just nice to be in a small group and talk to people about HIB and policies and prevention. So we did that. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'm doing that again at the Citizens Advisory Academy that Mr. Cariffi is putting together in January. I loved that last year because same idea. It's a small group. We can have a nice conversation. We did Superintendent Spotlight, the social media use, autism awareness with the police department. At first, they wanted to just use our facility, but then they were able to really open it up to the staff. And the largest attendance group was from Mount Olive staff, which was really nice. And then we have David Nash. If you work in education, there's no way you don't know the name David Nash. So he sends out a lot of emails for professional training. He's an attorney down at the Foundational Education Association, FEA, and the NJPSA, the Principals and Supervisors Association. And he is lovely to listen to because he is so smart, but he also has a way of explaining the information in such a non-judgmental way. There's no question that he won't answer with the most respect, and he just leaves everybody feeling like they understand better and that we're gonna help. So he did a training and a review with the staff, with the board, with administrators, and he does have a parent training that he's going to do here for us, which I am beyond excited about. So thank you for supporting the parent workshop programs that we want to bring to the school. Those are the dates. Now, here's the thing. You have to register so that you can get the email because he does protect, Zoom from being Zoom bombed, I guess they still call it. It feels like an old expression. But so it's in the school s'mores if you want to register. It's also on our website under the parent section under the workshop series. You do not have to commit to those dates. You don't have to look up and see if you're free on that calendar. You can just register so that you get the email. And if you can attend, it's virtual, feel free. And then if you can't, it's okay. Maybe you can make the next one. But I encourage everybody to do your best to attend. And all the board members, you're signed up already. I put your school emails in there so you will get it without having to seek it out. And that's all I have, if there's any questions.
Do we have any questions from the board? Comments? Thank you so much.
The thing I would like to mention, Ms. Bello pointed out earlier in her presentation, is the district is really proud of the fact that we are very transparent, that there is nothing that we as a district do not believe that we look into. So certainly from a numbers perspective, it may be higher than other districts, but it also shows you that there is no stone that's unturned here that we're not willing to look into. And most importantly, not only do we investigate, we also provide a lot of great programming. So that's also because of the leadership of Ms. Bello, along with the rest of the staff throughout the district who do things day in, day out to ensure that every child, every staff member feels welcome. So thank you.
All right, we will move along then. For committee reports. Yep, we're moving on. We have 5.3 Personnel Committee, Ms. Aquino.
Yes, the Personnel Committee met on the 9th at the board office, and we had roughly 15 members of the Veteran Staff Advisory Team, the VSAT, introducing themselves to the committee and presented the team's goals and objectives for the year. The VSAT's mission is to tap into the wealth and knowledge, leadership, and expertise held by our district's veteran staff members, and it was lovely to meet all of them and see all the great work that they're doing throughout our district. Mr. Moore discussed with the committee the exit survey results from 3 employees that have recently notified the district of their intention to resign or retire. And then our reoccurring topics, Human Resources has met with the implementation team from the LinkedIn employee social media platform. The district is still seeking several leave replacements for the middle and high schools. Interested candidates are encouraged to visit the district website and click on the Human Resources tab for employment opportunities. And just a reminder, all tenure track positions in the district are currently filled. And the district has also posted for a high school assistant principal interim leave replacement. This is a temporary substitute role, not to be confused with a tenure track position. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, we will move along. And on to Curriculum and Instruction Committee. Ms. Fenn.
Thank you. So we met, and all were present except for Ms. Aquino. Unfortunately, missed her, but we had a lot of good things going on. We had Mr. Feltman join the meeting to share the updates of the program studies. He highlighted that 91% match rate for this schedule to the academic and elective courses. ESSA profile review was done by Ms. McDermott. We had a big success in the decrease in our chronic absenteeism. Then we had Ms. Bello with the SSDS and HIB, and I don't need to go any further because she was extremely thorough. Our Some Old Business MOSA program is moving forward using the High Impact Tutoring Grant with staff approvals, and the programs will officially begin in January. We have iReady. Ms. McDermott shared that the iReady pilot for K-3 has been a big success, and there's positive feedback. And we're going to expand it to 4th and 5th grade for the 25-26 school year. We had Dr. Kreider review technology updates. We are getting a ClearTouch interactive board installed in MOMS. They're going to be used horizontally, allows groups of students to interact with the content in 4 separate zones. We have a virtual reality pilot. VR content has matured in the simple field trips to more complex curriculum aligned with New Jersey state standards. Digital signage will be installed and configured in all 6 schools. AI Expand Task Force, we met and approved the AI policy, which will be coming to the committee in January. We're looking into 30 hours of AI programs. We had Ms. O'Neill bring some information on the Richard West Assistive Technology Advocacy Center for Dr. Kreider to look into for some other services. We reviewed some staffing challenges. We completed a performance review of the new copiers. And we also discussed enforcement of the technology loss and damage invoice that will be sent to parents of students who allow their devices or peripherals to be lost or damaged throughout misuse. We have the policy in mobile device use. Security release agreement indicates that the parent or pupil shall be responsible to reimburse the school districts the cost of any technology devices that are lost and damaged. And that was about it for that day.
That was a lot.
Yes, it was a lot.
Any comments or questions from the board? I do want to say thank you, because I know I've been a pain in your behind Ms. Aquino's questioning and pushing on a lot of the dual enrollment conversations. So I was also Really, really happy to see all of the breakout of the summary of our scheduling and our course of studies. And the information on dual enrollment was, very interesting, and I wanted to say thank you for, addressing those questions in the committee. And moving on, then, we have 5.5, Ms. Fitzgerald with Finance and Operations.
Yes, Finance met 3 hours ago. That's why you don't see any minutes there. They will be posted for the next meeting. But we spent most of our time going over two topics. One, our new bus safety program that we'll be launching, and we can't wait to share more about that. And two, because I'm a finance nerd, our budget development calendar. If you've ever wondered what goes into actually developing our budget, if you that keeps you up at night, I have an answer for you. If you were to look on the item today, it's actually attached. There is a 4-page, very detailed schedule as to what goes into building a budget, and it is a huge undertaking. We are well underway. And so that is all there. If you guys have any questions once you review, please let us know. But it is a lot of steps and a lot of work, and we will be bringing that to you all next year.
Thank you. I think it might have been our shortest finance meeting in
Yeah,
history.
at 2 hours. Let's be really, yeah, exactly. It's all relative.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, we will move on. And to Policy and Governance Committee, Ms. Melendez.
Yes, Policy and Governance Committee met on Monday, December 9, and we discussed the following. It was included a discussion for bus safety program review. The district's policy committee discussed improvement to the bus safety program. While the current approach relies mainly on fines for those who illegally pass stop buses, Dr. Banja reported that monetary penalties alone haven't been effective enough as determined. As a result, the district will implement a new educational requirement for violators that will need to watch a bus safety video and pass an assessment to demonstrate their understanding of school bus safety rules when driving. We also discussed governance long-term goals. The policy committee reviewed governance-related structures that we plan to develop, including but not limited to the introduction of board retreats, the formalization of a new board welcome packet, a comprehensive board governance packet that outlines matters related to operational guidelines like committee meetings, and the establishment of board goals. The committee will be developing a multi-year plan that outlines the framework for the creation and implementation of mentioned structures. As part of the policy review, we review as a committee the policy 5516, which is the use of electronic communication and recording devices, acronym ECRD. The policy committee reviewed the term of ECRD to ensure the policy captures the variety of devices and forms of communication that are applicable to the policy. Also, we review policy 2431.4, the prevention and treatment of sports-related concussions and head injuries. The policy committee reviewed the baseline testing procedures of our students athletes that take place at both the middle school and high school. The associated regulation will be updated to include the information related to our baseline testing processes. Also, policy 5330 with the administration of medication. In May 2019, New Jersey approved legislation allowing a student with adrenal insufficiency to self-administer hydrocortisone sodium succinate and permitting its delegation. SMAE updated the policy and regulation guides 5330 to reflect these changes. Recently, DOE released a detailed 19 pages motor policy and guidance expanding on the legislation. While SMAE is reviewing these new guidance to determine if further policy updates are needed, our current policy 5330 remains compliant with both the legislation and new model policy. Manolif specifically updated this policy in 2020 and is currently compliant. The Strauss Ismay program also was reviewed and discussed, and Dr. Banja presented discussion with the policy committee, housing our policies and regulations on the Strauss-May online portal. This portal would enhance the searching capabilities to ensure improved transparency of both our policies and regulations with the public. That's it.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, so as you can see from Ms. Melinda's report, though, we definitely set some goals already in motion for next year for the policy committee and from the board as a whole. One being, I think, what we did speak about is our board goals and our long-term goals. Getting together as a group, but also potentially the multi-year plan, working towards becoming a certified board. And we definitely, Ms. Melendez, thank you for the initiative and the leadership on that committee there. Do we have any, we will move on, do we have any board subcommittee and parent-teacher association liaison reports?
Hello, I'm Amy Marini. I'm one of the co-leaders of CPAG, the Special Education Parent Advisory Group here in Mount Olive. So I'm sorry I didn't get to come, and I know that Mrs. O'Neill gave a little bit of an update, but I am a special needs parent, so I always have to make sure that it got said. So I'll say it again. So to kind of review what's been happening for CPAG, we do, for everybody, we do meet the second Tuesday of every month. We are virtual because we find that we get the best attendance that way. And so, I try to email out the agenda beforehand. So November 12th, I think I shared last meeting when I came to the mic that we now have implemented every other type of meeting where the directors of special services will kind of highlight an aspect of their just the department, something that they want to talk about that would be beneficial for the group from a systemic perspective. And so November 12th was our first parent-only meeting, if you would, and so I felt it was really important to kind of review a lot of the resources and kind of show parents and share my screen with regards to available resources that are online between the Department of Ed, SEAC, webinars and things that are available on the SPAN website, the transition toolkit and conflict resolution, as well as facilitated IEPs that are all outlined on the Department of Education website, which is stuff I know I told you guys about with the SEAC from October. And then I reviewed SEAC again and the report card indicators and all that stuff. It was really well received. I think people were a bit blown away by the amount of resources that are available and out there. And so it was really, I feel like it was a really good meeting. On November 21st, I did attend a piece of SEAC because it is a long meeting. And so SEAC, just to review, stands for the State Special Education Advisory Council, and I know I said last time, but I'll repeat it again. It's a lot of really high-profile folks in the state at a really easy-to-understand and digest perspective. So I was able to stay on, at least for the Office of Special Education, and they were really excited about a bunch of new staff that they have coming on. So there's a new transition specialist, 3 new monitors that are coming, a third preschool specialist, and then apparently another autism specialist. So more resources for the state. They shared that there's a best practices manual for all the board certified behavior analysts, or BCBA, available from the Department of Ed. And so it was really interesting to see that they have provided that resource for the BCBAs in the state. They also shared the emotional and behavioral program quality indicators that are going to be released in early 2025. So, it's good to kind of, for me, right, because CPAG kind of overarching all the different programs, and so to kind of keep your finger on the pulse with regards to what's coming out for different things that might not necessarily pertain to my students, but pertain to other students within the district. There was actually, believe it or not, they said that down the pipe, there will be some more bus safety type of recommendations coming from the state. Obviously, for SEAC, it's more towards the special needs population because of some of the kids that accidentally died on the bus last year. And so that's kind of a big topic. And so there's that discussion that's happening at the state level also. Some of their subcommittees, because they break out similar to you guys, one of the things was, it's kind of hard to remember all the details, but they talked about the emotional, social, and behavioral well-being. Another thing that they talked about was equity, compliance indicators, as well as discipline discrepancy with the rate of suspension and expulsion with students with disabilities, which I thought was really interesting. And so the way I understand it is that the committees kind of propose some of these things to the director for the Department of Ed, Special Ed, and then they kind of tease it out what they feel is appropriate, how they're going to take recommendations and all that stuff. So we're kind of listening to it at the infancy stages, and then it kind of builds from there. But I really thought that was really an interesting one. Moving on, I did try to implement with the directors of related services that CPAC meets with the directors at least quarterly to discuss some of the topics that we kind of hear as the chatter that I think might be systemic issues, and see if they have anything that they want to share with us and so forth. And so we kind of reviewed what I was thinking about with the whole spotlight of special services again. And so we talked about that, but then we also talked about some of the things that I've been hearing to see if they wanted to include them as topics for their highlight nights. One was declassifying students, one was behaviors and behavior plans and how staff are trained to manage those. One was inclusive practices, as well as potential case studies of students and how they fade services and what that looks like. Then we, on December 10th, had our monthly meeting, and as much as I know I've stood at this mic before, and I've said I really would like to highlight Inclusive Schools Week and and other highlights instead of Disability Awareness Month, but Inclusive Schools Week was December 2nd through the 6th. Their topic was Every Voice Matters, and so I had encouraged Deb and Sharon to kind of share the inclusive practices that are done within the district. And so so it was really, they kind of did the same thing last year, but it's really, we get different people that come through the meeting, so it's really good to kind of highlight all those different things. And then it was interesting because in the parent-only section of the meeting, a lot of the topics that came up were the things that I had just spoke to them about as topics for them to discuss 5 days before. So it kind of circled back that maybe there really are some, trying to tease out if it's a systemic issue, since that's what CPAC's focus is. Our next meeting is January 14th. And I wanted to thank Mr. Strelacci for all of your wavering, support of just the district in general. But I know that from a CPAC perspective, we were on the same team for fighting for more aides and more pay for aides and all that stuff. So thank you very much. And so, any questions?
Thank you. Do we have any questions from the board? No?
All right.
Thank you. Do we have any other subcommittee or parent-teacher association liaisons? Nope. And anyone on the board that attended any meetings to report on? Nope. I did. Actually attended the CMS meeting. Just a couple updates. So they reported out that 12/9 to 12/13 they had their festive week of dress. They have on December 20th their CMS sing-along. They also reported that they had their CSA Family Holiday Shop Night and their holiday shop all that week. Our meeting was on the 11th at 7:30 virtually. They reported they have their CMS winter concert coming up. There's lots of concerts, by the way, all week. They have theirs, happens to be on the 17th. Then they also reported and shared, and this one's just a global more so, that January 8th is our next superintendent spotlight, correct? Yep. And they also reported out that they have a Croc Charm sale, it just ended on the 13th. It was $15 for 3 Marauder MO Croc Charms. And that was about all for that moment for the reports. Anything else, though, from the board? Any questions? No? Okay. We will keep moving then. We are on to public comments on action items. Members of the community may comment on any action item prior to the board discussion. Please state your name and address for the record. All comments must be respectfully presented. Abusive or obscene comments will not be tolerated. And please also speak clearly into the mic and slowly and clearly as possible.
Martin Wellsmuller, 25 Woodcrest Ave, Bud Lake, New Jersey. In regards to the presentation that we had here on Hibbs and stuff like that, do we have a breakdown on gender, boys versus girls in the Hibbs and versa on race? And the reason why I ask this stuff is because maybe down the road, if all this is happening in the middle school, there could be some more preventive measures happening in the elementary schools. Okay, and with statistical data, you can pretty much, not that you're targeting a group, you're targeting the younger kids for hopefully a better performance going up, and we can bring our rates down. So it'd be very interesting to find out if we can find out the gender, boys versus girls in the Hibbs. I can know when my daughters were in the school, it was more of the girls in the middle school than the boys. High school is probably more boys than girls. But that'd be very interesting data, maybe something we could use to help better the district with this. Also, in regards to policy committee, I'm very proud of what Mount Olive has done by updating all the policies. As you know, when I came in here like 3 or 4 years ago, we didn't do really any policy updates, and it was a shame. And some of them were so outdated, it was really, really bad. And the fact of how many you guys have updated in the past 3 years is absolutely tremendous. I'm looking forward to getting more. I think we have over 10,000 total, and you're probably a quarter of the way there, or at least 3,000 done by now, right?
We looked at everything.
Well, not everything's necessarily updated yet. It may be looked at.
That was Dr. Bangio's summer reading.
All right, well.
Between
I'd
her
like-
and Miss Melendez, there was a
Well, like
lot
I said,
of
I'm very proud of that because a lot of the stuff we had was outdated, going back something like 1990-somethings. And a lot of things have transpired between now and then. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them we probably could just drop off the books by now. It's not relevant, but that may be one day. Now, going over the expenses for this month, and so I have a question concerning the Cablevision LightPath. You know, this month the bill came in at $50,437, and it's labeled telephone equipment, and then it's Cablevision LightPath. Is that for the cable services? What is that for?
That's Cablevision LightPath, but this monthly expenditure included prior months because we were waiting for invoices from Cablevision. We had a new circuit installed.
Okay.
So that's what the amount that's on the bills list, that's not the monthly cost.
Okay. Now, I also know through the state programs, Cablevision, stuff like give big discounts to school districts. So
This is an E-rate program.
It is?
So we will
Okay.
get reimbursed at the end of the year for our 40%.
Okay, all right. Now, next, I also noticed in the billing today is that we have Constellation Energy, New Energy, and for like $62,044.12, and we also have our JCP&L for $43,071.
Constellation Energy replaced another provider. We had an energy bill, bid last year, and Constellation Energy won the bid for
So the
that portion of the
JCP&L
bill.
portion is gonna be going down
Correct.
and fading away, so that answers that. Now, do we know that the rate's gonna be better than what we got from JCP&L?
The
or-
rate was better.
Rate, okay. And that includes gas, electric, and all these services, like, does that include the electricity plus?
JCP&L is electric, and New Jersey Natural Gas is our gas. Constellation Energy is the provider of the electric portion.
Yeah, 'cause there
on
was
our
something
JCP.
new on the thing, that's why I forgot to ask that. All right, that's about all I have. And Tony, thank you for your years of service. And I'm hoping that next year we can come out with a new referendum for for our district. And that's about it. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? No, seeing none, we will move on to our approval of monthly expenditures and reports. And can I have a motion, Mr. Urzillo, to move 7.1 to 7.4?
I'd like to make a motion to approve monthly expenditures and report 7.1 to 7.4.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Schoening, we'll take a roll call.
Mr. Orzillo,
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino,
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton,
Yes.
Mrs. Figuera,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez,
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci.
Yes.
Okay, and we will move on to personnel action items, and Mrs. Aquino.
Yes, before I move that, I just want to make one change. There will be a removal of 8.8, item E, for the record, for my fellow board members. Stating that, I'd like to, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, move personnel action items 8.1 through 8.21.
Second.
Do we have any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, seeing none, we'll take a roll call, please.
Mrs. Aquino,
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton,
Yes.
Mrs. Figuera,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez,
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Orzillo,
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci.
Yes.
And we'll move on to curriculum and technology, items 9.1 through 9.10, and Ms. Fenton.
Thank you. Under the recommendation of the superintendent, I'd like to approve curriculum and technology 9.1 to 9.10.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Schoening, we'll take a roll call.
Mrs. Fenton,
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino,
Yes.
Mrs. Figuera,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez,
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Orzillo,
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci.
Yes.
And we'll move on to finance and operations action items, 10.1 through 10.5. Ms. Fitzgerald.
Upon the recommendation of the superintendent, I'd like to make a motion to approve action items 10.1 through 10.5.
Second.
Any questions or comments from board members? Nope, seeing none. We will take a roll call, please, Ms. Schoening.
Mrs. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino,
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton,
Yes.
Mrs. Figuera,
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez,
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Orzillo,
Yes.
Mr. Strelacci.
And for the last item, we will go to you, Mr. Strelacci, for a motion to move 11.1 through 11.3.
I'd like to move the administrative action items 11.1 through 11.3.
Second.
Do we have any comments or questions from the board?
I would just like to personally thank Mr. Karifi on 11.3. All his
Yes.
hard work. Thank you.
Agreed. Absolutely. Okay. Any other questions, comments? And we'll take a roll call, please, Ms. Schoening.
Mr. Strelacci?
Yes.
Mrs. Aquino,
Yes.
Mrs. Fenton,
Yes.
Mrs. Figuera,
Yes.
Mrs. Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Mrs. Melendez,
Yes.
Mrs. Narcisse,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Neill,
Yes.
Mr. Orzillo.
Yes.
Okay. And that's all for our action items. We will move on to old business. Members of the board may comment on any item of topic that was previously discussed by the board. Any old business? Okay. We'll move on to new business. Members of the board may introduce any new item or topic of discussion for the board to consider. Anyone with new topic, new business? Okay. None. We will move on to public comments. Students, parents, employees, and community members may comment on any item of interest pertaining to the Mount Olive School District. Please state your name and address for the record. All comments must be respectfully presented. Abusive or obscene comments may not be tolerated. The mic is open.
Martin Wells Miller, 25 Woodcrest Avenue, Bud Lake, New Jersey. So I want to bring to the school district, I've already talked to Dr. Banjer, I mentioned it to Mr. To Kevin, that SNAP Raise is the fundraiser program that we use for the Mount Olive soccer program this season. We raised a little over $11,000+. The good thing about the program, it's user-friendly, and they do all the work behind the scenes. The bad part is they take 20% of what you raise, okay? Talking to SNAP Raise, because some other people, staff members asked me to help raise money for some other groups in the school district, and I'm helping with that they said they work with school districts as a whole. And working with the school district as a whole, they've reduced the fee that they charge. And some of the groups which don't have, like parent-teachers association groups, like the chess club, swimming club, don't have, like the sports always have a lot of parents involved, right? So it's easy for them when they want to raise money and stuff like that, but some of these other groups don't have that ability. So what I'm gonna work on with SNAP Raise is see if they can come out and do a proposal to the school district on how we can make them the program, and they also give back to the district as well. Besides every group getting their funds raised for what they need, for what they want, it would just be a systematic thing that could be tracked by the district, and make sure the funds go where they're supposed to go. And like I said, and they also said they actually, at the end of the year, based on how much they raise and what the fees are, they even give back to school on top of that. So I'm gonna work with this, and get something to Dr. Banja and to Kevin, and kind of go from there and see if we can institute this in Mount Olive to make raising money for our children easier, but, because the community is willing to give if they know what they're giving to, and we make it easy, right? They may complain about their taxes, but if they can raise money for Snowland, for, soccer, football, baseball, the wallets open up pretty easy. I think that's fair to say. So, but if we can put something in place that helps these other groups get off the ground, to have funds available to do certain things, or to give accolades, to have an acknowledgement after their accomplishments, I think it would be better for the township as a whole. So that's about all, and I'm gonna work on getting that to the board, so maybe we can institute this going for next year.
Thank you. Anyone else? So the mic is open. No? I feel like we need like the ticking seconds. Okay. Seeing no one else, we will then move on to board comments. Members of the board may comment on any item of interest pertaining to the Mount Olive School District. And we'll just start at the end. Mr. Orzillo.
Just want to thank Mr. Scalacci for his dedication to service. It's been a pleasure, even though it's been only a year, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're gonna all end up saying that as well. But just because you're not on the board doesn't mean you need to be a stranger. We're gonna still have to call you every once in a while and say, wait, but how did we handle that 15 years ago? Because you're the guy who knew. You were the one I would call and say, but wait, have we done this before? And the answer is almost always yes. So you're gonna be missed, but I hope not too much, because I'm gonna still be calling you. I also want to say, I know our high school liaisons talked about Snowland. I heard a lot of great feedback that this was the first year that the kids all stayed till the end, which I don't know why that is or what we did differently this year, but way to go for the planners and organizers of that. Whatever it is, they didn't, apparently there's a lot of like leaving after 30 minutes to go to Chili's, and this year they all just kind of hung out and enjoyed the dance. So kudos to you guys on that. That's a success in high school land, so well done.
Ms. Melendez.
Well, Mr. Strelacci, thank you so much for all your service, and not only the service, but to the personal level, to all the advice and wisdom that you share with all of us. It's very instrumental and provide us guidance in a terrain that we are so new when we are just elected and never had that experience before, and you were always so forthcoming to provide your advice and to take us under your wing. So we appreciate, and I appreciate personally so much that. Also to your wife, thank you so much for always being a great sport and keep him with us. I know it takes a lot from the family. Take a lot from the family time. And so his dedication is also your dedication. So thank you so much to both of you. To the students, they have been great concerts over this month.
I attended the Think Road, it was fantastic. Also, the Snowland, I also heard due to that, a lot of good feedback. I think the students enjoyed it a lot, and they were within the parameters very well behaved, which is great. Also attended recently the first Lego competition. It was fantastic. It was the state competition, and we always usually house that competition here in Mount Olive. A very good turnout on that, and very good representation. And our schools also represented Mount Olive in the regional one, very good representation also. So to those parents, kudos for you to support your students, and students keep going it. The only thing that I would like for us as a board and staff and everything is to make sure that if we have 4th and 5th graders competing, that we have something in 6th grade to keep building up that experiences, no wait to 7 or 8. So to have continuation of building up of skills. Thank you so much. That's all.
And Mrs. Green?
That's 23 years that we hosted that state championship.
Wow. And great volunteers.
Yes.
Every year, I see familiar faces, and all those volunteers are so committed. And any new volunteer out there, you are welcome. So this year, they have a couple of new volunteers, which happen to be alumni of Mort. So new people, and new students coming on after they graduated from college. So new volunteers are always welcome, parents, students, staff. If you want to get involved, just hop in. That's it. Sorry.
You're on, Ms. Aquino.
I'm going to take a different approach to Mr. Strelacci's thank you send-off and say,
taking you to dinner.
hold on, because I was going to say, thank you for being the only board member to vote no for me when I was appointed back in the day. And then thank you for following that up for taking me for dinner. So
We all thought that it was full-day
you are
kindergarten.
forgiven. You are forgiven,
That's your big win.
and I would appreciate another dinner since then. I think you could have saved up your money enough since the last time
Career accomplishment.
I ordered everything on the menu. You know that I'm going to continue to call you for your wise words of wisdom, and I appreciate everything you have taught the former boards and this board. So thank you for everything.
Ms. Benton?
All right, so I'd just like to add, you didn't order dessert that night at dinner. So,
She did order
did you? Did we?
He does not
Ah.
forget. That guy does not forget.
Okay, yeah. Well, Mr. Strelacci, I do want to say thank you and just thank you. I mean, just bringing us out to dinner, onboarding us, mentoring, always having advice for us. Just, we'll never forget it. And I really appreciate you. I consider you a very good friend. And you're going to be missed, but I hope you come back sometimes. If not, we'll come visit you. Maybe, do you do women's suits? One other thing I wanted to mention, since Ms. Melendez was talking about everything that's going on, forgive me, somebody's going to have to help me. I went to the JROTC drill drill competition. It was amazing. We were outstanding, and apparently we exceeded standards, which is something really big, but there was, I'm gonna say 150, Mr. Stansbury, do you know my name?
So it was our annual inspection.
Inspection, that's what it was.
We had 129 cadets in the program, which is over 100, which makes us viable. And we had performed extremely well in previous years, but because we weren't viable, we could never get the exceeding score.
Yes.
So this was the first year that we were able to actually earn that exceeding rating. They did their 30-step drill,
Yep.
which you just missed.
I know.
And then they did their rifle, they had done their color guard earlier, and all day the inspector spent with all of the subcommittees of the Air Force Junior ROTC, so it was all student-driven. And we got our official rating
And just standing there for an hour, 2 hours, like they have to learn how to stand because otherwise they lose circulation, there's a lot of things that can happen. It's a very powerful thing to watch and to see. Our high schoolers are succeeding like immensely in this, so I just wanted to bring that up. I also just wanted to say Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah. And I don't know if is there a holiday? Is Kwanzaa in there too? Happy Kwanzaa to everybody. That's it.
Okay, I'm going to swing over to Mrs. O'Neill.
Tony, thank you for all your years of service and for all your years of service with the Flanders PTA. Feels like a million years ago since my kids were in Mountain View, but all your hard work is a legacy for you and for your kids and your grandkids. I never saw anyone leave with a presentation like that before. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing, and truly you deserve it. Again, it's our music department, and I did go to the middle school band concert. Mr. Odessa, Mrs. McQueenie, I know she just walked out, and Mrs. Barak, they did a fabulous job. It was great. It's our music department, theater department really is amazing. So I just wanted to say that, I really will miss you too. I hope you come back.
Oh, I'll go back.
I'm going to, Mrs. Figueroa, we're going to save the best for last here, Mr. Strelacci.
So before I was lucky enough to land my seat here next to you, I remember as a parent at Mountain View Flanders PTA, all of your efforts to get us full-day kindergarten, which were most appreciated. And I remember every time you spoke at our meetings, I loved hearing your insight and your wisdom, and we're really going to miss that. What you've done for our district is monumental. You will be sorely missed. Please stay in touch.
You're not up yet. I'm going to go first so we can save you for last. I'm actually not going to say goodbye to you, Mr. Strelacci, from this board because I'm actually going to make a promise and say when we start up the referendum committee, I would like you to be the first seat on that committee. You've been through how many? You know, the historic wisdom that you bring to that table, and I know that is another item that you very much are very passionate about. So I really much will give you, that is your seat. Even if I don't have the power, I'm telling board members, Mr. Strelacci is going to be on the referendum committee. Thank you to everyone. Also, thank you to my board. I know I was not here the last meeting, and I'm very grateful that you can afford, each of us when we need to take a little time with our families to, carry on the work in our absence. So thank you very much for that, and thank you, Ms. Fenton, for having fun with the gavel.
I broke it, that's why.
Oh, it's not here because she broke it. Okay. But our students across the district take some time. The remainder of this week, there are still more concerts from choir, chorus, band, orchestra. There are several things going on in our buildings that just bring you such joy and festive and put you in the mood and happiness. Please stop in and see, even if you don't have a student in that district, look at our calendar, it's up there, our concert schedule. Prior to the last meeting, I actually attended our fall musical show, and it was amazing. Again, students so talented. And the work that we do here on our board, I want to say thank you to all of our committees and our committee chairs. I took great pride in the fact that you all take such leadership in each of your roles. The work that we do in those committees, while we joke that we spend hours in finance or a lot in curriculum, we really, I think each of us, and I look at each of you, put a lot of time, energy, and passion into those items. And, the little text of like, hey, can you ask this question? Or, sending us our committee reports. And Ms. Schoening for giving us and Dr. Bangia a new, format that's a standard reporting format. I really want to say thank you to the whole team here. as we go into the new year. It will not be, old face, it will not be new faces, it'll be old faces. We're all a team and work together, I think, very much so. And that's the, I think, the narrative that, and the message we should continue to focus on. And, to Mrs. Melendez's work in policy, we've been pushing forward to do a lot more initiative on the governance side. So thank you for that. As we go into the new year, she set a lot of goals for us. And with that, I'm still saving you to last. So if this administration has anything to say?
I'm good.
Okay, so Mr. Strelacci, you are up. You are the last. We saved the best for last.
When we were driving here tonight, my wife said to me, well, what's gonna, I said, I don't know what's gonna happen. I thought I was gonna be given something, but maybe a kick in the pants, but I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. But it's, I'm just in awe of what happened tonight. What every well wishes and what everybody said tonight, it's something that I will never, ever forget. I mean, that's embedded in my mind. I mean, you made such a beautiful evening for me this evening. I can't explain it. I even, last Wednesday, got to conduct our band at their concert. They called me up and I conducted Jingle Bells. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was a lot of fun.
Did it go really fast?
But it's been a wild ride. It's been great. There's ups and there's downs, and you got to let them fall off your back. And you're going to have people think you're smart one day and stupid the next day. And but it's going to happen. But folks, we've made a tremendously good school district here. We put Mount Olive on the map, and wherever you go, you're proud to say you're from Mount Olive. People want to move to Mount Olive because of our school district. So, I mean, I can't say any more than what was said tonight by Mrs. Vogel, by Kevin, by so many people tonight. I didn't expect all that. And then to have my granddaughter and the kids come up here and sing, I was actually in tears. I mean, this is just a night I can't forget. I look forward to it, my last meeting, but I didn't know what to expect. So I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wish everybody a very healthy and happy holiday.
All right, I think we clap for you, Mr. All right, and with that, we will take a motion to go into confidential session. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, and then we be resolved that the board meet in confidential session, sorry, I don't have my glasses, for the purpose of discussing, I'm just reading, matters of attorney-client privilege, pending or anticipated litigation. Be it further resolved that the matters discussed in confidential session be disclosed to the public when the reason for confidentiality no longer exists. Action may be taken. And we are now in confidential session. It's on the end, yeah. Okay.
We get to pick our seats?
I don't know. I don't do whatever. Are we waiting for anybody else? Nope. Okay, we are back into session. Ms. Schoening, should we take a roll call to come in, or should we just make a motion to exit the? Okay, we'll do a roll call for who's here. Thank you.
Mrs. Aquino?
Here.
Mrs. Fenn?
Here.
Mrs. Figuera?
Here.
Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Here.
Mrs. Melendez?
Here.
Mrs. Narcisse?
Here.
Mrs. O'Neill?
Here.
Mr. Orzillo?
Here.
Mr. Strelacci?
Oh. And I will then, are there any comments or questions from the board? Nope, seeing none. I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
All right, I'm gonna just go with all in favor.
Aye.
You good with that, Mr. Charnay? You good?
100%.
100%. All right, we are.